Bienvenido. Today is vlog 68, I believe. And to be honest with you, I am going to stop saying the vlog number probably on Friday because I am going to start a new series on Monday and I want to start with a clean pay a clean slate. It's the word Americans use. So let's use that one. A couple of things have happened. According to my page, which I'm looking at right now, it says that I haven't blogged in a month. I don't think that number is exactly perfect, but maybe it is. The thing was, I got sick and I really could not speak. If I spoke for more than 2 minutes, I would start coughing, and I just don't like the choppiness of editing videos. I like to be able to talk and talk and talk and then stop, and that's it, at least for this channel and this particular vlogging type of content. So then I got sick, and I don't get sick normally. It's very rare that I get sick, but when I get sick, and I mean like a cold, I don't mean like major stuff happens all the time, but the annoying kind, the colds, the flus, that kind of thing, I usually don't get those too often. And I know this time it was a cold or whatever you want to call it because I was out. Like, I had fevers, I had sore throat, and that is like, apart from throwing up, sore throats are the worst for me because I just can't stand them. And we need to swallow all the time, so that doesn't help. But the worst part was the cough, because I would start talking and I would start coughing, and that would be the end of anything. Any conversation, anything was completely a disaster. So then we started getting ready for Hurricane Irma, and then Hurricane Irma happened. And you know what? It might be a month because now that I think about it, I got sick, and then a week after I got sick, I had to start planning for the hurricane, and then I spent another week without the computer, and I just reinstalled it like 3 days ago. So yeah, it might be a month actually. So YouTube is right and I'm wrong. Sorry. Today is gonna be more of a rambling video. I have no reason to make a video, only to get used to back to starting a video every day and whatnot. I can tell you a couple of things that I've been noticing lately, and as always, I don't talk politics or religion because I don't like that kind of topic. It's very polarizing, and there are plenty of channels to discuss politics and religion and things like that. I am going to talk about Irma and the effect here in Florida. So it's been a week and a day. And technically it's been a week and a day because actually it was Sunday and then in the morning of Monday. But really when we all woke up on Monday, it was pretty much gone. It was still cloudy and windy, but it wasn't that bad. And then at about 10 in the morning, it was almost gone. Now, it was only a category 2 when it got to Orlando. And I have to say that thank God, because had it been a category 4 when it came here, considering the disaster that we have here now, I have to say that it would have been horrific if it would have been a category 4. And by the way, keep in mind that even though it was a category 2 and when it left the state it was a category 1 and then it became like a tropical storm or whatever you call it, it managed to cause issues all the way up to South Carolina. So it was a very strong storm. South Florida it's horrible. And I understand that, when you compare the loss of things, some people think, well, the buildings are still standing. That doesn't work that way. This is something that happened also in Houston with Harvey. People would see the people's houses standing and they don't understand what the big deal is. Well, the big deal is that once you get a couple of feet of water in your home, you have to basically demolish that house and build a new one. The people that live there have lost pretty much everything. If people had things stored up or on a second floor, that stuff they can save, but the stuff that was on the first floor is gone. If you have a house that's been sinking in water for a week, you pretty much lost all your furniture. And that is something that when you don't live in an area where there's a hurricane, you might not understand the situation. The exception would be New Jersey and New York, because they had Sandy a few years back. But most people in the north, and definitely in the west and other areas of the United States, don't understand the consequences of a hurricane. Um, I lived in Puerto Rico all my life before I moved there, except for 9 years when my husband was in the military and we were in Maryland and Virginia. And then we had to deal with snowstorms, which is another issue for another day. But I survived the first hurricane. I remember it was called David. And it is a very funny story. And well, it's not funny, but it's something that brings a smile to my face every time, because my dad's been gone now for a year and a half. And when David happened, we lived in on the 20th floor of a 23 stories building. And we survived the hurricane because basically we had a big party in the hallway, because it was one of those buildings that has apartments on one side and apartments on the other, and you have the hallway in the middle. And what we did is we all went to the hallway, because the building itself, we didn't have personal generators, but the building itself had enough to keep the hallways lit up. And we just had a big party, and we were all young. I don't think I was, I'm trying to remember if I was over 12. I don't think I was that old, to be honest with you. But I do remember that when the hurricane was beginning to go away, the most serious man in the building, my dad, and the second most serious man in the building, my neighbor, decided that they were sticky and yucky and they were tired of being upstairs cooped up in an apartment. So they flew down the stairs, all 20 floors, and proceeded to jump in the pool. And the reason why it brings a smile to my face is because I was like, nobody's paying attention to the people in the pool and whatnot. Of course, they started screaming, and they were screaming and like, woohoo, loud enough that I could hear them on the 20th floor. So that should tell you how loud they were screaming. They were the only two people that were ever in that pool that day. And sure enough, within a week, we were known in the entire building as the daughters of the psycho that went in the pool. And that title followed him all his life, because every time he would tell me or my sister something like we shouldn't do something that was actually fun, we would bring the story back up. So, and I'm bringing this whole thing up to you to tell you that I've seen the good and the funny of hurricanes, and I've seen the horrible devastation of hurricanes. I survived Hurricane Georges in Puerto Rico, and I can tell you that when we woke up the next day, and my neighbor decided to get in the van with all his kids and me and my daughter and some other people, and we went around San Juan looking to see what had happened, and it was horrible. It was just horrible. We didn't see anybody dead, but to give you a simple example of how devastating it was, in the building where my parents lived, there were people that could not park in a safe area, so they ended up parking in the regular parking spots, and one car went on top of the other and landed on top of the other, and both cars were total loss. We saw buildings that had no windows left. It looked like something exploded inside the building. It didn't look like a storm. It just looked like something went off, boom, and the whole all the windows were gone. We saw people that lost everything because water got into their apartment or their house and they didn't have anything safe. And sometimes the silliest things are the ones that give you the most pause. And I'm talking about people's pictures and it's a lot. Let me put it to you that way. It's a lot. It's heartbreaking. So I know how bad it is. I also know that we didn't get it that bad in Orlando, but we still had issues. The reason why I didn't install a computer for a week was because the light kept going on and off, and I didn't want to ruin the computer. This is an old computer that I'm using. The newer computer, I haven't even taken hair back out of the box yet. Because, well, for one thing, in 40 days I'm changing apartments, and for another thing, I just, I don't want to risk the new one with the electric surges and whatnot. And I do have a surge protector. I don't know. I don't want to do it. We lost a lot of food, and the other thing is that we have so much food that we normally don't eat. It's a crunch on, even on a person that was technically not affected, it does affect you. Uh, to give you another example, I've been looking for work. I use my computer. Now, back in the old days, you could go to a store and apply for a job. Nowadays, everything is done to computer. Well, I was without a computer for 10 days, and the internet has been a nightmare for the last 2 weeks. So, and the biggest irony is the day of the storm, we had perfect internet. Go figure. And I can tell you that because we watched the entire series of Game of Thrones. I can't remember if we used Hulu or what we used, but we watched the entire Game of Thrones from 1 to 7. Actually, from 2 to 6, because we had seen series 1 already. Waiting for the storm, that's what we did. We would watch one episode and then we would go to the Weather Channel and then we would go back to the episode, and that's how we survived. It's it's a lot of things. It's you get nervous, you get upset. As you guys know, I have personal issues with my stomach, and the stomach was acting up. And then, of course, you don't want to flush the toilet too much because you have a restriction on water. Oh my God, it's just people don't know. People think, oh well, you didn't get affected that much. Yeah, we all do. And then I'm not trying to excuse anybody, because at the end of the day, you just get up and keep on going. But just because you don't know what it's like to live through a hurricane, I can tell you it affects everybody. Now, I am not going to sit here and claim that it affected me as badly as it affected people in other areas. I can tell you it's about 10 minutes. No, it's not even 10 minutes from here. It's about 5 minutes from here. There's a neighborhood. I can't tell you what the city name is because it's in a spot where there's like three cities, so I can't tell you if it's one or the other. But I can tell you it's about 5 minutes from my house. And these people, I don't know if they had a lake or if what happened, but their entire neighborhood is 2 feet underwater. Those people are going to lose everything. And they're not technically in the zone where the hurricane happened. My entire county is considered a disaster zone because we have so much of that. There were, I forgot. 4 days after the, not actually 4, 3 days after the storm, we had a tiny little rainstorm. And by tiny, I mean it rained for an hour nonstop. The typical Florida weather, just so you know. We call it the bipolar weather because it'll be beautifully sunny, and then all of a sudden it'll go black, pitch black, and you'll hear thunder and lightning and rain for 20 minutes, and then it will go back to being beautifully sunny. That's typical weather in Florida. Now, this particular rainstorm that we had on Wednesday, lasted about an hour and a half, I want to say. There was very little thunder and light. Well, no, there was, in fact, there was more thunder and lightning than I heard the entire time when Hurricane Irma was here, which was weird. The problem is that because we're so soaked, any little sputtering of water that comes from the sky is going to make it worse. So when we're trying to come back home, I was in the hospital because my sister was in a car accident. Um, every little spot we had issues trying to get back home because the water would flood, and then the streets would flood, and you're driving on like this much water, and you may think, well, that's not a big deal, but when you keep seeing it and you keep thinking, that's gonna flood and that's gonna flood, and then how am I gonna get out of my house? It, it it does it does affect you in many ways. And it has affected me financially, it has affected me physically, it has affected me mentally, because let me tell you, you spend 2 days waiting for a hurricane to hit, you are going to get nervous. Even if you don't think you are, you do. Am I as badly hurt as people that have lost everything? No, definitely. And as soon as everything cleared up, I took all my, which might have been a mistake, but I don't care. I took all my canned goods and I sent them to a place where the lady has a property that is mostly owned by senior citizens, and they have no access to food or water, and we send them whatever we could. I did not send anybody my water bottles because I don't see the point in getting rid of water bottles. That makes no sense to me. So I kept my water bottles. And it was a good thing too, because now we have Hurricane Maria and everything. Even though none of the models have her coming to Florida, until I see it go in any direction, I'm not gonna Not gonna calm down. That's what you do when you grow up in the middle of the zone where hurricane season happens. You get used, you get prepared, and then you wait. That's all you can do. So why am I saying all this? I'm asking you guys, the 22 people that are subscribed to my channel, and hopefully tomorrow I'll have one more or whatever. Um, be patient and be nice to the people in Florida and Texas. Even if they were not directly impacted by the hurricane, there's a big possibility that they were impacted one way or the other. And I'm not even talking about being related to people in the zones, or I'm just talking about the, if the person was in the path and was lucky enough not to lose anything, they still went through hell. I can tell you from personal experience, I've been on both ends of this particular situation, and I can tell you that it is a nightmare. Even when you don't lose anything, you still lost a lot. In my personal experience, I can't tell you. I mean, I had 9 days that I had no access to internet, so I couldn't apply for any jobs. And now I'm like in a race trying to catch up. I also have most of my stuff on Marketplace on Facebook, selling the stuff that I'm trying to get rid of before I move, so I don't have that much stuff because I'm trying to downsize. And Marketplace is local, which means the people in Florida are the ones that are getting the notifications. Many of them just got electricity this weekend. So that does have an impact. It might not be the impact that you think, and let's face it, if I'm trying to get rid of my stuff, losing my stuff would have not hurt as bad. That's true and not true. Had I lost my books or my pictures, I would have been devastated. And that's what I was talking about before. The little things are the ones that matter. When these people go to their houses, they don't care about their sofa or their shirt. They care about their pictures, their mementos from whatever, from a trip or whatever. Those are the things that actually hurt, because most of those things you can't replace, or at least the feelings that you have. So I'm going to give you 3 tips to survive anything like this ever again. The first tip I'm going to give you is for documents and pictures and things like that. And it's going to take me a very long time to get this done, but I am going to do it. This was suggested by my sister, it so happens, because we were thinking about this after the storm. Yeah, we didn't think about this before the storm, but scan all your stuff, all your documents, all your IDs, all your pictures, everything that you think you're going to miss if it disappears. Scan them. Now, logic says don't scan them into your computer only, because if you scan them into your computer and your computer is in the flood zone or in the fire zone or whatever, you're going to lose that too. Now, I would tell you put it in 3 places. Get a pen drive and take that pen drive with you wherever you go. I had a bag that I had, a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, where I had some important stuff. I would put it there. That's one place where you're going to save it. Obviously, save it in your computer, because if your computer gets saved, then you don't have to worry about it. And the third place I would tell you is in the cloud. Right now, because I have an Apple computer, I have this one, which is Microsoft, and I have Google for everything. I have 3 clouds. Actually, I have 4 clouds because I also have Verizon. So I have several places where I can store my stuff. Spend the $2 a month that you would pay with Google and go ahead and save it. Save everything into your Google memory, into the cloud. Or if you have an Apple, save it in the Apple cloud. Or wherever. Just spend the extra $20 a year or $30 a year and save your stuff. You're not going to be sorry you did. If you need it, it's there. Now, I realize that with personal documents is a little iffy, because you don't want people to hack into those clouds and get your stuff. So what I would tell you in that case is make sure you have a pen drive that you keep in a safe, dry place, and in your computer, and pray. That's all I can tell you. The second thing I would tell you is turn the switch off on your main breaker box for your dishwasher, and store whatever little things you can in there. Why? Because dishwashers are meant to be waterproof. So the same way that they don't let water out, they're not going to let water in. Me, I am a little, I overdo things. So what I would do is I would put them in Ziploc bags and then put the Ziploc bags inside of the dishwasher. The reason why I tell you to hit the breaker box is because you don't want the machine to accidentally turn itself on when the electricity comes back on, and then you lose everything anyway. That's why I tell you that. The third tip that I'm going to tell you is, as far as your house goes, if you have a second or a third floor or even a attic and you're not in a flood zone, I would still put everything in the attic. Keep your house, if you own a home. I don't own a home. I rent. But if you own a home and that home happens to have an attic, I realize that some people don't like to do this, but keep the attic clean so you can keep all the important stuff there. I have seen many people whose houses have flooded, but they only had one story, and yet the attic was the only place that was dry. So, it might not work because all of it might get watery, but try. Those are the three tips, and I'm gonna give you a bonus tip. Things are things. You can replace most things, and I realize that you can't replace pictures, but you still remember them unless you get Alzheimer's, and then you won't remember anything. But then it won't matter. But things are replaceable up to a point. Life is not. I don't care how important you think your house is, or how much you love your car. The day that you have a storm, or in the case of the West, a fire, you're not going to give a crap about the house or the car. You just want to live. Once the situation is upon you, it's a little late to think of that. The reason why I say that as a bonus tip is because yesterday Hurricane Maria was going through Dominica, which was an island that was hit by Hurricane Irma not even 2 weeks ago. And the prime minister was tweeting and posting messages on Facebook as the hurricane was going on. And one of the most heartbreaking ones was, "My roof is gone and I'm at the mercy of this thing." Lucky for him, they came and rescued him. And I understand some people think their houses are safe, but if they tell you that it's a mandatory evacuation, get out. It's harder on an island because you have no place to go. So I understand why he's staying in his house. But if you live in the United States of America and somebody tells you it's a mandatory evacuation, get your ass out. I mean, seriously. You're putting people's life at risk by coming to rescue you. Your house can be replaced. Trust me, if you don't have insurance, I'm pretty sure the government is going to help you out with a little bit. And even if they don't help you, you have a job, you can make your own life again. But you cannot come back to life. So for the love of God, or life, or Mother Nature, or whatever you believe in, and if you don't believe in anything, for your own sake, please just get out. Just get out. There's people that have died because they didn't get out. And then there's people that have died trying to rescue the ones that didn't get out. So just get out. Now, I realized this was a rambling video. It took almost 23 minutes, but I hope you stayed and watched the whole thing. And please stay safe for all the people that are now going through Maria. Please stay safe. And those in the north that are facing Jose, just because it's a small hurricane doesn't mean it's not going to hurt you. So please stay safe. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.